Andy.
What's up? Welcome back to the Stephie Smalls show. Halfway through the week and basically halfway through the NFL season. Joining me again because he is so highly requested. You are like the guy to have on. Everyone was obsessed with you being on. So at this point, gonna have to get you on as regular as possible. But it's Munaf Manji, guy with the great beard, guy with the great props. There's a lot of ways to describe you. How's it going?
It's going well. Like you mentioned, 50% of the way through the NFL season here. But, we're chugging along. We're having a good time. I know you and I have been going back and forth about, building prop bets and talking about our prop bets. But, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on again. It's been a great time.
Of course. And Thursday night, our Houston Texans, because I claim them as well. Our Houston Texans are playing. We'll get into that. But I have to know your take on, what the fuck is going on in Indy. So Anthony Richardson took himself out of the game because he was tired, which I kind of fucking respect it. Like, you're tired? Go ahead. Tap out. You got to get out. Fine, whatever. Shane Steichen said Flacco is going to be starting versus the Vikings. And then today was very cryptic. Like, it was very, doesn't know when AR-15 is going to start again. Wouldn't say it was a unified decision. Michael Pittman saying that he found out on social media. Like, they're a fucking mess. You drafted a developmental project, and now it's not like Flacco is like a reasonable bridge quarterback either. That's the thing. And what is it to do? To win 1-2 more games? Like, and do what? Have a wild card game and lose? Like, I can't fathom the decision.
Well, you gotta love the honesty, number one, from Anthony Richards. He's like, well, I'm just tired.
I'm tired. I respect that. Honestly, I got it. It's a long week.
I get it, man. Again, especially going up against that Texans defense, I were probably breathing down his throat. But I mean, now in hindsight, I mean, do you think it feels like the Colts made the wrong decisions at number 4 overall? A couple of drafts ago. I mean, it still feels like he needs a lot of development. It's tough if you're an Indian, and I always bring this point up, is that I feel like Andrew Luck set that franchise so back after he just abruptly retired and just spend his life like go hiking or whatever the hell he's doing, or he's like hiding in a cave or whatever the case might be. But I think because if you had Andrew Luck, I mean, he could have been in the conversation. I don't want to say greatest of all time, but at least in that conversation where like Mahomes and Allen and that type of conversation, maybe would have brought them a Super Bowl. Who knows? But you got to give a lot of respect to AR-15 there. Like you mentioned, like Joe Flacco, he's a great insurance policy. We saw that last year with the Cleveland Browns there, but obviously, like you mentioned, he's not that bridge quarterback to be the franchise future, or for the future franchise quarterback. So, we'll see what transpired with AR-15 there, but I love the honesty. It was a little refreshing. I couldn't be mad at him for just being honest, honestly.
It's honestly funny. Like, I have so much respect for him, but I also think too, like, just talking football, which I don't think this is I just think that this is dysfunctional franchise. Like, I think that they're just a mess. I think that this is what happens when your owner loves cocaine. Like, you start making some weird decisions. But at the end of the day, Anthony Richardson was playing really bad. And I think at some point too, has to be some like preservation of like these young guys too, because you can completely destroy them as well, leaving them in the game. But then it's like that happy medium of what do? You knew you were drafting a developmental project. When are you going to develop him if you're going to have, and now they're saying they don't know if he's going to start again this season. That's crazy.
No, I mean, I would expect him back. Maybe I haven't seen what their bye week is, or if they already had their bye week or not. But I mean, I think at some point, being drafted number 4 overall, I'm trying to see if I can find their bye week, whatever the case might be. But at some point he's going to come back. As great as Joe Flacco has been as a backup quarterback over the past couple seasons, there, like at some point you do expect him to come back. And I think they already had their bye week, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they did. I think you're right.
It feels like it. But I love the damn honesty from
you gotta love it.
You gotta love it.
And you kind of like, I don't know this. We don't wish injury on anyone. That's crazy. I would never do that. Sorry, I see Trevor in the chat is not going to be amused with this probably because Like, watch Joe Flacco go down this game, and they have to put Anthony back in. What if he's like, I don't want to?
No, the funny part would be like, Joe Flacco's like, I'm tired too. I'm tired.
I'm tired.
I need to come out to tag you and Anthony Richardson. Get back in there.
What are they doing to these poor guys? I'm not sure. Let's get into Thursday Night Football, though. And I'm going to say this very clear for those of you that, which I'm sure everyone that's tuning in knows this, because this line, like, I can't even take it seriously. To be honest, it's very confusing. The 6-2 Houston Texans are headed to shit life, where they are underdogs against the 2-6 home Jets. They're 1.5-point favorites right now. I see some 2.5 still out there. I think MGM is still hanging a 2.5 somewhere. All the money, all the bets are on Houston. Like, the line is moving in favor of the Jets. So, like, where are you at spread wise? Because to me, this doesn't make sense.
So it's going to be difficult to gauge right now for this Texans team, especially offensively, where they haven't looked, obviously the greatest. And I've talked about this on my pod as well, is that we haven't had Joe Mixon, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs. I think it's been like 1.5 game where all those guys have played together. And coming off of last year where CJ Stroud looks like the next godsend for this for the NFL, there was going to be some type of regression. Obviously, when you're playing a first place schedule, then you're playing tougher defenses, and you have more tape on a guy like CJ Stroud, but he can still make the throws. Obviously, when you're down your top 2 quarterbacks, you're going to lean more into the running game here with Joe Mixon, who's obviously done a fantastic job, coming over here to this Texans team, especially since he came back from that injury, that ankle injury that he had with that hip drop tackle there. But it feels like a cop-out answer, but I would honestly just tease the Texans up to through the 7 to 7.5 if you're able to find that 2.5 still out there. Jets, if they win, I would think would probably be by a field goal. I think the line is kind of indicating that they are a 1.5-point favorite. It's a short week. You're traveling on the road, and we know how home teams fare, especially at home here. And again, this is a spot where I think the Texans, I don't want to say can afford a loss, but the Jets can. They lose one more game, their season is pretty much wrapped up. And at this point, you could probably say it's already wrapped up after losing to the Patriots like the way they did in the week 8.
Yeah.
But so I'm leaning towards the Jets here. I may just get there with the Jets here, and then I would tease up the Texans with another a teaser leg up through the 7.5. It pains me to say that, but it's just the fact that I'm not sure who that consistent wide receiver is going to be when you don't have Nico Collins and obviously Stephon Diggs now. Collins is going to be back next week for us. I think it's a Sunday night football game, if I'm not mistaken, against
I miss him.
I think the Lions. So he'll be back in week 10. So just wait one more week. He'll be back.
My thing is, like, I'm not the NFL is scripted person, but like if the Jets win, it's scripted. Like, I will buy it. Like, I will fucking buy into that, because the only way I'll believe it's scripted is if they give the Jets like a hope to make some type of run, which I don't think is possible with this team, with the way they're playing, with their coaching staff. I just took Houston money line just because I at this point I'm a homer, because I don't have a team that hurts my feelings, so I'll let this team hurt my feelings this time. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think I would have been on the Jets until I saw this, and now it feels very, I don't know, it feels icky to do. And I think Ryan's versus Slowick versus whatever the Jets have going on there coaching wise. Yeah. It's just hard. Like, it's hard for me to come up. Like, how can I sit here and say that, like, the Texans should not lose to the Jets? They shouldn't lose to the Jets. There's no reason. I don't think Diggs is enough. I think that they, it's kind of an overreaction. It's not like the Giants losing Neighbors, who is like their only almost weapon. Like, I think that the Texans have enough for Stroud. I just don't know if he has someone that he feels like he can really, truly rely on. Diggs was that. Collins was that. So it's like, where do you go? Because Tank Dell does not look like, I don't know what's going on there either.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's like the injury is still bothering him, or like maybe he hasn't got enough reps or whatever the case might be, because last year prior to his injury, I mean, you saw the numbers. He was absolutely outstanding next to Nico Collins. And maybe when Collins does come back and that attention goes to Nico Collins, that maybe that opens up things for Tank Dell. Tank Dell is going to be slated as a number 1 guy now, which we know truly he is. He's more of a number 2, number 3 type of player there. So maybe you look at some other guys. I'm still waiting for the John Mechie props to drop.
Cowards.
Yeah, we're waiting.
They're
waiting for the props to drop on some of these scouts. So those for John Mechie. Well, the funny part to me is that they have his touchdown prop out. Like it was like at plus 450, but they don't have his like receptions, receiving yards prop out.
He was in the game. Like it's not like he hasn't been involved where like you can't set a line for him. I think you can very well set a line for him.
Yeah, so I'm just sitting there like clicking refresh season.
Yeah, right. I know. I keep looking too because I'm actually gonna be pissed when someone sees it before I do. So now it's like I want to get to it first. Also, what about the total? It's 42. It seems like these Thursday night games are going over.
Mm-hmm.
What are you leaning? The totals this year I can't really get a good gauge on it. Admittedly, is not something I've been betting a lot.
Yeah, I think if either one of these teams win, it's probably ugly. I think it does go under the total, like maybe slightly like a 21-20, 2017 type of, game there. I know, like I mentioned, the Texans offense hasn't been that great. I know it was good against the Patriots, but I think we intercepted Drake May like twice and they were able to put like 41 points and the secondary was atrocious there for the Patriots. But it just kind of feels like we're stuck in quick mud right now with this offense. I think that might change when we do get Nico Collins back. But at least for this game, the Texans, I believe, are the number one team in time of possession, if I'm not mistaken. Their offense out there about 54% of the game, just because they like to run the football a lot, right? Like Joe Mixon over the last 2 weeks has ran the ball like 50 times, 25 in each of the last 2 weeks there. So they're taking their time. They're not playing a very fast pace. I think you say the same thing about Aaron Rodgers as well. Where he gets to the line, he's maybe checking out of a play or checking into another play there as well, so the game slows down a little bit. So I'd look at the under in this game. If it's 42.5, I like the under there.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of staying away. Also, for the people that like numbers too, Houston's 6-2 straight up versus teams with losing record under Ryans. I had another comment, but now I'm kind of forgetting because I want to get into props here. You know what? No, the Texans are winning. Like, let's not be ridiculous. Like, there's no reason.
Let's not overthink it.
I said it last week. I just really feel like, and I don't know when it's going to be, but I do feel like this Texans like blowing out another team. I don't think it's going to be against the Jets, but I think at some point that really is coming. One thing I might look to do because I've been like creeping on it, seeing how it moves. One thing I might look to do if the Jets do win is looking where the Texans win total is. Because if it drops to that 10.5, I'm going to smash the crap out of it. I promise you. Because I think that the Texans, again, like haven't peaked yet. I think they still have the potential to peak. I think you get your weapons back. I think everyone gets healthy. I think this team is going to be just fine and people are underestimating them.
Yeah, we're also thin at the linebacker position. That's where we're dealing with a lot of injuries there. So waiting for those guys to come back. And I think right now, us having this Thursday night football game and getting that mini bye, not having to play for another 10 days or so, that's only going to help those guys that have been out to get that extra time off. And even the guys that are dealing with injuries right now that are playing to get that extra time off and be ready, for the following week in week 10. And just kind of looking at their schedule. Yeah, Sunday night football against the Lions, and then we have the Cowboys on Monday night football. So we have 3 straight primetime games coming up, and then we have 2 division games, and then we have Miami, Kansas City, Baltimore, and Tennessee to end out the season. So yeah, we're gonna be on national TV. Hopefully we don't embarrass ourselves, but I think CJ Stroud's he's gonna perform and go out there and play well.
Oh, thank God the Giants only have one more primetime game. I can't take it anymore. It's so bad. It's brutal. It's awful. All right, let's get into props. What's the first one that you're looking at?
Yeah, so you know me. I love my longest reception props.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about it.
I'm going to go to the Jets side in this one. I think it is Garrett Wilson for me.
Yeah.
And this number was at 21.5. It moved to 22.5 earlier today. And it's also the part that, hey, they got Davante Adams. I know Davante Adams hasn't looked like the Davante Adams that he was with when he was with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, but I think that time is probably coming maybe after this week. And I think that just opens up opportunities for a guy like Garrett Wilson. And you kind of look at his numbers thus far this season as far as his longest receptions, and there's been in more games than not that he's gotten over this number of 22.5 longest reception. And now I think for Davante Adams at this juncture of his career, he's more of a guy that, one of the best route runners, let's not forget that, but he's not a down the field threat anymore like he was when he was with Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. So I'm just trying to pull up Garrett Wilson's longest reception. So I know he did it in back-to-back weeks.
I think it was 4 out of the last 5, I think.
Yeah. Here, I got it. So, yeah, 35 last week.
FanDuel still has a 21.5.
Okay, yeah. So, again, like I always say, shop around, get the best number. But I do like his longest reception to get over. And if they are playing from behind, like if you think the Texans are going to win this game, that they're going to throw the football and maybe find them down the field there. So that's the first one I did bet was Garrett Wilson, longest reception, 21.5.
I'm with you. I also like Dalton Schultz, 16.5 for the last 5. I also parlayed them together. You can get just shy of plus 300 if you want to get crazy. We saw the involvement too when Diggs did go down. You kind of saw Schultz kind of peak up. I think Schultz should really try, like Stroud should try to rely on Schultz because I think that is a good piece for him here. I know the Jets have been good against tight ends, but I think Schultz opens things up for him a little bit. Yeah. So I like his longest as well. Okay. So you know how I texted you and I was like, I think I found the craziest thing like to bet on. So you know how everyone is betting these, like I like to call it like this little slutty trend where you take the under receptions over yards.
Yeah.
Hear me out. Okay. You take the over longest under yards.
Over longest
under receiving yards.
Okay. Okay.
It's crazy. So Garrett Wilson's, if you take his under yards, I think it's like 62.5 and over his longest, because we assume maybe Adams picks up a little bit more of the work and then you use Garrett in these other situations, you're looking at almost 10-1 on that.
So this was something that was cashing like early in the season, right? But I know it was like guys getting like 100+ yards, but I think that, I mean, yeah, look, you may be onto something. I mean,
I haven't decided who I'm going to do it with. It's probably going to be with one of the guys that don't get as much involvement, like a Conklin or something like that. And I'll put something out there, but I think I'm onto something. I'll let you guys know how it goes before I start doing it because it's probably a really bad idea.
It could be, honestly, it could be Devontae, I think.
You think?
Like his yardage really hasn't been there. And again, I could be wrong. Like this could be the week where he like looks like Devontae Adams of Green Bay. But
I don't believe it's there though.
Okay. It could let me see what these numbers are for.
Aaron Rodgers has done mushrooms, gone in the darkness. Like he's done all these things since he played with Devontae since.
What do you think about Mike Williams doing that?
Oh. I feel like Rodgers kind of hates Mike Williams is the problem. And once he fucking hates someone, it's kind of over for that guy.
Yeah, last week he didn't have anything. 0 receptions, 0 targets, 0.
Didn't he blame the game on him like a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, so I think that maybe that'd been the Buffalo game, but that Pittsburgh game, he had 1 reception, 2 targets, 15 yards. So that would have gotten him over his longest reception of this week of 14.5, and his yardage for this week is at 22.5. Yeah. So you need like 1 catch for like.
No, I got to figure it out. I'm going to find who it is. I'm going to make it work. Maybe it won't be in this game. It would be a different game. Okay. What's another prop you're looking at?
So we talked about Joe Mixon, his rush attempts. I mean, I don't remember seeing this number this big for any like running back at 20.5 for his rush attempts. Yeah. Which I kind of stayed away from, but then I looked at his rushing yards and it's at 81.5. So I think that if he does have another 25 rushing attempts, even if it is 21, I think that's a little bit correlated that he does get over his rushing yards here. So I like that. If you want to ladder that one up and play the alt maybe to 100+ rushing yards for him, I couldn't talk you off of that. Or if you want to tack on the receiving yards as well, just because how we talked about like no Diggs, that Tank Dell has kind of been a shell of himself to start the season here, and maybe they do get Mixon involved, whether it's check down, screen passes, whatever the case might be. So I think that you could either play the rushing and receiving to go over or rushing yards. And then I know Sean mentioned this on the show yesterday when they're talking about their player props, that maybe alt receiving yards over for Joe Mixon there as well. But I think that he will be heavily involved in this game. Yeah,
I think so too. I don't know why the rushing yards makes me nervous. I think it's just because he's been so consistent that it feels like a letdown spot, and that's probably just trauma from betting guys on trends, and then it doesn't work out. But you look at what he's done. I mean, he's rushed for 503 yards and he's had 5 touchdowns in his last 5 games. I like the receiving yards. That's where I went. You have to shop around for this number because I've seen it all over the place. But the number I got was 23.5. minus 112. Jets have allowed like 4 runners to exceed this prop here. And he's averaging 4 targets per game, 6 targets once Diggs went out. So I like the receiving yards. I actually like him at the anytime touchdown for -125. I think that might be the direction that I go with him.
I honestly thought that number was going to be like north of -150 for any.
Me too. That feels like it's not set right. I mean, but then you look at his first touchdown number, +440. Remember when first touchdowns actually had value?
Like 7-1 or higher, 8-1 higher.
Everyone ruined everything.
Well, you know who to blame for that. I won't say any names, but they issue my paychecks there, so I won't say any names.
They're ruined. It's bullshit there. Let me give you a prop.
Yeah, go ahead.
Will Anderson over a quarter sack, -115. A quarter is crazy. He's tied for third most this season. Dexter Lawrence leads the league, but it doesn't matter. That's not what we're talking about right now. 5 sacks in the last 3 games. He's on fire. We know the Jets O-line can be susceptible. So I think a quarter sack, I'm not asking for much here at -115.
Yeah, it's funny you shit on your team, but then you say Dexter Lawrence and you kind of get.
He's all I have.
Well, I'm pretty sure you have a bet on him to lead the league in sacks, don't you?
I do. I have the Giants to lead the league in sacks, 50-1.
Are they still number
I
one?
also have Dexter 150-1 to win Defensive Player of the Year, but I would have to root for injuries for that to end up happening. And we don't do that on this show.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you off of Will Anderson. I think when they got Danielle Hunter on the other side of him, that just opened up more opportunities. Yeah, for Will Anderson. I think he had one last week against Anthony Richardson. We know the offensive line has been atrocious for this New York Jets team. So, yeah, I definitely think that he can get there. Will Anderson over a quarter. Maybe it's a split stack between him and Danielle Hunter there. So, yeah.
And Hunter's number is good too. I think it's like -110. I looked at that as well. Maybe do the 2 of them over a quarter and parlay it. I think you're onto something there. What else are you looking at this game?
So again, like we mentioned, I was waiting for the John Mechie one, but nothing has transpired yet. But whatever that number does come out, see, now they have Xavier Hutchinson, but they still don't have John Mechie yet. But
what is that? Okay. Yeah.
Xavier Hutchinson's at 20.5. So I think that if something similar comes out for John Mechie, I think you want to take the over on that and then maybe alt him up as well. But yeah. I like Rodgers to throw interception here. I know our secondary has been a little bit banged up and they've been giving up some big plays there. But for Aaron Rodgers, who again, I feel like he's gonna have to throw the football a lot in this game because our run defense has been pretty good season long. I know last 2 weeks hasn't been that great going up against Jonathan Taylor. And the week prior, I forgot who we had played that. They had a big rushing game there as well. But again, it's Aaron Rodgers prime time. If he's throwing this ball to if it's Mike Williams or if it's another quarterback wide receiver there. And again, if these guys are able to generate pressure on the Texans and he makes an errant throw or gets tipped pass, I mean, you know how the interceptions work. I think I'll take Aaron Rodgers to throw an interception. You're right. So on -110. But again, definitely shop around, get the best number.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I would never bet on Stroud to throw an interception, but I don't think it's a horrible look if that's something you're into as well. But I think Rodgers he makes dumb decisions. Like he wants to play hero ball sometimes. Yeah. It's one of his flaws. I could see him throwing one very easily. I already bet that was one of the first things I bet for this game. The only other prop I was also, how do we feel about Robert Woods? Any feelings about him?
So I know he's a pretty great blocking wide receiver. I just don't feel like I know he had like 1 catch, if I remember, like two catches last week for 18 yards.
I see him getting a touchdown is the issue. Like that's the type of shit that would piss me off.
Do you see numbers for him, at least for his
yeah, plus 575 was the best I found. He was at MGM. MGM has had some good lines lately, but yeah, plus 575 for an anytime, I feel like isn't horrible.
Yeah, I mean, especially for like we don't know. I mean, like we like Joe Mixon this week, but it's a lot of fun betting on some of these longer shot guys. So I think Robert Woods is there for that conversation. I'll throw Daria Gumbawale out there for the Texans as well. He's kind of the second-ish. I know Damian Pierce is there as well, but he's really been involved in the passing game for the Texans. He's done a really good job there as well. So, yeah, he's around plus 550 over on DraftKings. Robert Woods, I see 5-1. Cade Stover, 7-1.
Yeah,
for a touchdown. Yeah,
I like it.
I haven't seen his yardage yet either, but that was another one I was looking for.
What is he for 2 touchdowns? Because I think it's something crazy. I'm not going to bet it or anything, but I did look at. I'm not going to act like I didn't look at it.
80-1.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah.
That's crazy things that happen.
So one of the shouldn't even really be a hot take. Well, maybe because the Jets have only had one tight end score against them this season. But one of the tight ends gets into the end zone. I feel fairly confident about that for the Houston Texans. Yeah, neither of them have scored.
Yeah. And I think like this is a week, right? Like we talked about, like you're down your two wide receivers, or your top two wide receivers. Tank Dell really isn't that red zone guy ish. I know he had a touchdown last week for us, but yeah. And then I'll throw in Tyler Conklin out there as well. The odds, I think it's just the odds you can't pass up, and he's had 2 straight games where he's had at least a receiving touchdown. So just based on the odds there, I would look at him. He's been a pretty good red zone target for Rodgers.
Yeah, and I see Charles Sears bringing up Stroud rush yards. Also wrote that down. Have it in a couple parlays that I made. I'm with you on that one. You've also seen the Jets be very susceptible the last couple of games to rushing QBs. 8.5 doesn't seem like too much for him. What do you think about your quarterback there going over that number?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally not a guy that will take off. I mean, he's more of a pocket passer, but I mean, at 8.5, he could probably get this done in one rush there if he wanted to. It's just the part that makes me nervous that if they are up at the end of the game in victory formation, he has 10 rushing yards and he takes 2 knees, then you're screwed. Yeah, and that's happened to me like multiple times, especially with Mahomes. Yeah,
that's true. Very true. Only other, who I've been staying away from, just as a little side note, Breece Hall. Like I can't figure him out. I feel like I was hitting on him a little bit in the beginning of the year. It was a lot of receiving stuff that I was doing. I'm not interested in the lines, the way that they're set. I'm not interested in his involvement in this offense. Like I'm just kind of out, and I know he's going to be a really popular, very highly touted guy for this game. Just kind of staying away from it. Dalton Schultz, though, if I'm going to play his receiving yards, I'm just going to look to do like a 60 plus at plus 250 if that's, you don't want to go as high as 60, but he's someone that I'm just going to go do the most with. Do the most. We're not just going to take the over. We're just going to go in all, like, give me a plus money.
I feel like there was a game last season when Nico Collins was out and that the Dalton Schultz had a really good game.
I know exactly what you're talking about, actually.
Yeah. So I think that there's an opportunity there. Let me just see if I can quickly find it. But he's been a little bit, I know we had a lot of weapons there, but again, if there's a time for some of these secondary guys to step up, I think this is the week. So last season, 2 games without Nico Collins. It was against the Cincinnati Bengals, 4 receptions, 71 yards, and then against the Titans, 4 receptions for 58 yards. That was last year for Dalton Schultz. So, yeah, I think that is a game where he could definitely look for him.
I like it. Absolutely. Anything else for this game that you like?
Just one more point. I think somebody, Charles, pointed out in the chat that if you don't like the Breece Hall numbers, it's probably because they're getting Braylon Edwards a little bit more, Braylon. I don't know. I keep on saying Edwards. Braylon Allen involved a little bit more in the offense there as well, whether that's been in the red zone or like out of the passing game there as well. And this week may not be the week for Breece Hall there. So yeah, I think I agree. Maybe if you don't want to play an under, just completely stay away from Breece Hall this week.
Yeah, 100%. I was trying to look at Allen, but again, he's another guy. Like I don't think Vegas hasn't that backfield figured out. I don't think I have that backfield figured out. Yeah, I don't think the Jets have that backfield figured out. Like I'm just kind of out in general until they start like sorting things out. Is there anything that you've already looked to prop wise for this week? I will say there's not a ton out because of injuries and stuff. Only a few guys that I saw stuff that I liked.
Not yet. Can you talk me off of Devin Singletary this week? I don't think Tracy plays.
I can talk you very much off of him. Please. I can't actually, no, I can't. I can't. I don't know. That's not the game I want to talk about.
It seems like you're only healthy.
That's not what
that's the one that first one stuck out to me. I mean, this is going to be the Devin Singletary weekend when we see he has 100 receiving or like 100 rushing and receiving this week at the end of the game. But I will say
the Giants are going to end up winning this game and piss me off. They're going to win this game and piss me off. Watch.
Oh, brother. I think this might be the big Malik Neighbors game.
Yeah, against that secondary.
Yeah, they've just like back-to-back seasons. They've just been absolutely atrocious. So I think we go back to Neighbors' longest reception over, and then I think we maybe want to ladder him up, depending on what the numbers at, like 70, 80, 90, maybe 100 for him. But
yeah.
This may
especially after he's had like 2 bad weeks off the injury. Not bad. I won't say bad. He's had 2 lower weeks after the injury. I'm with you. I think I'd take an all in his over longest. Also want to look to Eckler receiving in that game. I know they don't have lines up. That I tried to look in that game. There's really not much up. Neighbors anytime touchdown would be nice because I really need him to get over the like 4.5 touchdowns for the season. The only game that I found stuff on is CeeDee Lamb, longest over 25.5. He's gone over every single game because he's quite literally all they have. I like to even look to him to do like 90 plus receiving yards. And then Tolbert, longest 18.5 over in 3 straight games. So those are the only 2 numbers that I saw that I like. So there's really not much up right now.
Yeah, and that's the weird part. Like usually by around this time, they have a lot of stuff up. But like you mentioned, it's probably just because of all the injuries that are going around the league and waiting for those injury reports and, if they're going to be playing this week or not. I quickly wanted to go back to, did you see the fountain of youth that Aaron Rodgers has found?
Oh, his cayenne pepper.
Yeah.
I used to make like lemon juice cayenne shots when I wanted to look skinny at pool parties in college. Like you're not like, this isn't like a new thing. This is like 10 years ago, like in college trying to look good at a pool party. Like you're going to be okay. Like you might, he's trying everything. Like maybe just give it up.
I mean, at this point, it's like, what do you do? Like, I don't know. Maybe go back to another darkness retreat to see if that helps you. I don't know what to tell this guy.
He might not leave the darkness retreat if this team finishes like 3 something. Like we may never see him again if we're going to be honest.
Yeah. So, it's like at what point, like, do you start taking accountability that you haven't been very good at? Like, I know that, like Aaron Rodgers, like it feels like he's never going to do that. Like, all right, he says I need to play better, but at the same time, like.
Munaf. He's a narcissist. He's never gonna do that. What are you talking about? There's no
wishful thinking.
He's the first to point the finger when then you see him do these things. And I know, like, I'm sure any Packers fan can attest to at his last couple years in Green Bay. It's like he starts doing this hero ball bullshit, and then he wants to put it on everyone else. Like, it's a very frustrating situation. How many weapons do you need? You didn't need Devontae Adams. That's not the problem. No. Your defense is fine. Like, it's not, that's also not, you're the issue, buddy.
So, which game was it that he threw that, they got that Hail Mary touchdown at the end of the half? Wasn't that like a few weeks ago?
Oh, it was only their 14th fucking primetime game. It was like 3 primetime games ago. It was like their second one. Who were they against?
I forgot who it was, but even like that game, like if that touchdown didn't exist for them, like we could be sitting here talking about a 2-7 team right now, or whatever their fucking record is right now, but for the New York Jets. But
but guess what? You could say that about the Giants too. Like if they scored just 1 touchdown against the Commanders, if the Steelers they called a flag on roughing the punter or whatever the fuck it was. Like there's so you could say that about every team. Actually, my new thing that I'm very annoyed with is everyone being like, well, just a couple games, good couple different calls. No shit. Like everyone can say that.
No, but that was like a Hail Mary touchdown that he threw. Like that's the problem, right? Like he's had so many of those in his goddamn career that it's like, man, like when the hell does a luck run out for this?
But then he misses a fucking check down. Like, okay, like that's why you're in that
that's not his fault. That's not his fault.
He didn't have enough cayenne pepper. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I just can't wait till he's.
I don't know. I'm on the Texans. I think I'm all in. What's your score prediction for the game?
I know I'm gonna give us the victory. I'm gonna go. Let's go 20. Let's go 21. 23-19.
All right, I'm gonna get real hot takey. I don't know if it's because I had a glass of wine or during the show. I actually think we're gonna go under. Like, I think this is gonna be a little bit lower scoring.
Yeah, what do you think?
It's gonna be brutal. 17-13.
Okay. Yeah, I can live with that.
Sure. We'll take the victory for the Houston Texans. Any NBA plays for tonight? So I have something to sweat out.
Yeah, I have 3 props I'll give you. Haven't really got off to maybe sides and totals. Haven't been the greatest start for me. I'll preface that. But I did play Jordan Poole over 3.5 3-pointers made.
Okay.
He's turned around at least early part of the season here, and I think they're going up against the Hawks, who have been one of the worst 3-point defenses to start the season here. And then also took Wendell Carter Jr. of the Chicago Bulls over 9.5 rebounds. I'm not sure if you want to keep banging on the revenge narrative just because he got traded from the Bulls over to the Magic. But anytime he's played against the Chicago Bulls on the road in Chicago, he's done very, very well. He's had double-digit rebounds in all the games so far that he's played in. So I played that one. And then my last one was Wemby over 11.5 rebounds. Thunder continue to give up the most rebounds to the opposition through the first couple games here. I know they're missing Isaiah Hartenstein, but Wemby last season had at least 12 rebounds in all 3 matchups against the Thunder. It's on ESPN. I'm sure the refs will do or whatever it takes to keep the Spurs in the game. It's a big spread right now, but I do like Wemby over 11.5 rebounds. This one seems like it's on the move as well. So those are the 3 I played.
I like it. Tell people where they can find you, what shows you have the rest of the week. If you're still tuned in, hit the like and subscribe button, please. Where else can we find the rest of your props? I'll be back Friday before I let you sign off here. I'll be back Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern for player props for the rest of the slate. But where can we find you?
Yeah, just find me on Sports Gambling Podcast Network, doing most of my shows there. Propcast, NBA, MLB, maybe it's the last game tonight. Who knows? Of course, a Propcast as well, only talking about player props. And then also do a couple pods over at pregame.com, so you can find me there as well. But then again, just follow me on Twitter. Make it easy for you guys at SportsNerd824.
I love it. All right, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. See you guys on Friday. Thanks so much, Munaf. Catch you on the flip.
All right. Thank you.